revisiting my dreams with the king.
Yo, good people, welcome to another episode of The Ride, a journey towards your dreams. I'm your host, Johnny King III, aka Still Chill Leroy, and this is the Revisit Your Dreams podcast show, exclusively on the Revisit Your Dreams channel right here at youtube.com. Like always, we got a very, very special guest today. But as always, we want to remind you before we start of what we're doing here at Revisit Your Dreams. Here at Revisit Your Dreams, we provide inspiration, motivation, encouragement. We explore real life stories of trial, error, and success, and maybe even provide a few laughs along the way. This is season 4 of the show titled Artisans. We're very excited about what's going on in this season. This season, we're highlighting the careers of artists of all different types, of all different varieties. And today's guest is no different. My very special guest today is different from most, although no different than an artisan that we've had on the show before. This is his second appearance on the show, and as we get into it, you'll find out why he's a little bit different from most. But he's a brother, close friend, an author, an actor, a creative show host, a life coach, a former baseball coach, a longtime college administrator at the University of California, Davis. He's a husband, a father, a leader in his community. We had a whole lot in common, and I can run down a longer list of attributes. But please welcome to the show, making his second appearance on The Ride, host of the new sports podcast, Stolen Bases, my homie from the V, Coach Tre Everett. What's good, Coach Tre?
What's good, bro? Man, I'm gonna have to hire you to do all my introductions.
I'm traveling too, man. Pay the plane tab, we gone, bro.
There you go.
I'm just kidding, bro. But that was fun, man. I would definitely go with you if you need me to introduce you, bro. I got your back, man.
For sure.
For sure, man. I like to tell the audience how I know each guest. If you watched this guest is making his second appearance in season 1. I think it was maybe episode 4 or 5. It was early on in the process, but he's making a second appearance. And on that episode, we discussed how we met. Montre and I played baseball together coming up, mainly in high school, but we share some of the same experiences as a youth in baseball in the city of Vallejo. And one of my greatest memories, though, of Coach Montre, I call him Coach Montre. He is a life coach as well. That is his social media handles is Coach Tre.
But, yeah, it is.
Yeah, you see it on his shirt. Sometimes you might just hear me call him Coach Tre. You might hear me just call him Tre. Sometimes I might call him by his first name, Montre.
Hey, not too many people call me by my government name, but you got it, bro.
Hey, man, we go back, man. But man, we both share the same common stomping ground, the itty bitty city by the bay, Vallejo, California. One of my greatest memories is Montre and a good friend of mine who also ran track with Chris Redmond singing It's So Hard to Say Goodbye at our high school graduation. That was one of I still remember that to this day. Like, I'll never forget that, that you and Chris did that, and y'all sounded great, man.
Appreciate that.
Respected my level of respect, because I didn't know you could sing like that, went to a whole nother level. I was like, wait, Montre and Chris about to sing what?
Yeah, man. We actually, me and Chris, man, we didn't really start, really getting together until our senior year of high school. Like, I was doing my baseball thing, he was doing the track and football thing, and we just ran in different circles. Mm-hmm. And me and my cousins was starting a singing group, early 90s, Boys to Men, Jodeci. So we was trying to follow in that vein. And so we was going to enter the Vallejo High School talent show, but we were short a couple guys, and we were just rehearsing in the locker room. Chris came through, said, "Yo, y'all sing? I sing too. Can I get down with y'all?" And I guess, as they say, that the rest is history.
That's crazy how that stuff happens, man. Kind of like how we got together doing what we about to do, man. It's just how it goes. Let's get straight to it, man. Off top, one of the most exciting things going on in my world right now is our new venture
Yes.
together. You and I are both heading up, and it's the creation and release of our new podcast show called Stolen Bases. Talk to our audience about what this show is, what it's about, and what the subject matter Stolen Bases means to you.
Yeah, man, I am so excited about this new venture that we're going on together, man. And I got to give your audience, a little bit of a background story because, you know, talking baseball, is something that I love doing, and we would do it, on social media, from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple guys tell me, yo, you ought to do a podcast, just talking about it was really my cousin. Shout out to my cousin, Mike Freeman. He really put the bug in my ear saying, man, you should do a podcast, where you just talk about baseball from a black perspective and how the decline of black presence in baseball is happening right now. But, kind of shine some light on where things used to be and how we could probably get back to that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds dope. And, I love talking baseball anyway. And,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really, truly my first love. And so I was like, yeah, that's something dope I would like to do. But I kind of put it, off to the side because I was doing some other things, with my life coaching thing kicking off. I had several clients as I was dealing with, so I just really didn't have the time. And then you reached out to me, bro, and you said, yo, I'm thinking about doing this, and I'd like you to be down with me. And you explained it. I was like, man, these are the same thoughts that I was having. So I knew that the timing was right, and I was like, yeah, let's get on this because the longer we delay it, the less the more this history, this rich history, dies out. Especially with our generation. We were taught a lot of this, but the next generation, they're not being taught these stories. So, man, I'm so excited about it, man. With us, starting off by just sharing the stories of pre-Negro leagues and the Negro leagues and breaking the barriers and, starting with Jackie Robinson into the major leagues. But it goes deeper than that. We're going to, share some of the stories that are not, well known, some of the struggles that some of the players and early players in the major leagues had, and what happened with the decline. Somewhere along the line, we stopped having people, or at least in our community, have presence in baseball, whether it's in the local
Mm-hmm.
parks
Yeah.
all the way up to the major leagues. It's just we're just disappearing, and
Yeah.
we love this game, man. And I mean, it shows by what we're here to talk about. And I think by us just sharing these stories, man, and also just having some guests, future guests on the show to kind of share their stories and how we can kind of bring that love of baseball back to another generation is going to go a long way. I'm excited about, and it's not just a black show. I just want to put that out there. This is something for everybody. Yeah, we're talking about the black culture in baseball, but this is something for everybody. If you just appreciate baseball and you
Mm-hmm.
appreciate community, this show is going to be for you, and it's something that all of us could get. I truly believe that we're going to build some bridges through our show.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, man, with that. When you say it's not just a black show and it's for everybody, that statement resonates with me. I was just watching the other day, um, a lot something about Savannah Bananas, and I know you're familiar with
Yeah,
Savannah Bananas, being having lived down there for a while, and the growth of Savannah Bananas, and some of the players visited like Negro League museums and we're talking to some of the people at the Negro League museums about how the Savannah Bananas was kind of inspired by the Negro Leagues. It was inspired
absolutely.
by the players in the Negro Leagues who was, in addition to being high level performing athletes, were also actors and dancers, and so they would incorporate those moves and those types of antics into the field of play sometimes during games
Yes,
just to bring some excitement and some flavor. And I think that's just amazing that we can intertwine uh, the Negro League and the modern day game of baseball in the way that Savannah Bananas has done it and are openly um, expressive about getting their foundation of entertainment from the
absolutely.
Negro League inspiration.
I agree, bro. And shout out to the bananas and that whole organization and what they're building. One thing I recently saw is that one of the banana ball teams were wearing replicas of an old Negro League team. They're wearing their uniforms. I thought that was so dope. But and we actually, for those of you, once again, the Stolen Bases podcast is going to release on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
But in that first episode, we actually talk about this movie that is loosely based on the Negro Leagues and the formation of Negro Leagues. It was made in, like, I believe this movie was made like maybe late 60s, early 70s with Billy D. Williams. But it's called The Bingo Long Traveling All Stars. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's probably on YouTube or somewhere out there. But in that movie, you have this all black team that would go around and what they call barnstorming. They would just go from city to city, playing baseball against local teams, but doing it in almost like a fun and entertaining way. Yeah, they were great athletes, but they were also great entertainers. They were like the Harlem Globetrotters before their time.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the Bananas, they are really just a newer version of what we see in that movie. If you watch that movie and then go look at the Savannah Bananas, they're doing the exact same thing. And so I'm not mad about it, because the Savannah Bananas have done an amazing job of, paying homage to the Negro Leagues and even the pre-Negro League. So, I don't really think, when we talk about stolen bases, I don't think what they're doing is stealing. They're really, paying a great level of respect. And plus being based in Savannah, Georgia, which has a rich history, a rich Black African American history. There are remnants of slaves being sold on the shores of the Savannah River that are still there to this day. Yeah, man. And so for them to just be based out of a city like that with such a rich Black history, I give them all the respect in the world.
Yeah, and it goes to show, to me, the power of, and I'm gonna save some of this conversation because we got to talk about this on the Stolen Bases podcast.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Go over, when y'all get an opportunity, go over to Stolen Bases. Just search Stolen Bases on YouTube. You'll find our channel. Go ahead and subscribe, because if you like the conversation we're having right now, you're definitely gonna enjoy the podcast and the episodes we come out with. But the Savannah Bananas just are an inspiration to me, in the sense that it shows me the power of what we could do if we collectively decided that's how we wanted to entertain our people, or whoever wanted to come and watch.
Absolutely.
What I mean? Like, it's very possible, because we have the talent, and we definitely have the flavor, the cultural flavor to bring it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think of stuff like Universe Soul Circus. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, if we could do that, we could do our own version.
We can
of
do
whatever.
it in everything. It's not, not just in sports, but as you see with the circus, we could do it in so many sectors of entertainment, because let's be real, sports is entertainment. And so we really have the power and the ability, if we really tapped into it, to really, have our own in so many different arenas. And, I'm here for it, and anything that I can do to be a part of seeing that happen, I'm with it.
Yeah. So the purpose of that Stolen Bases podcast show is to remind our people of who we were as Black athletes, as Black baseball players, before we stopped getting the recognition as high profile Black baseball players. And the purpose of this podcast, Revisit Your Dreams, is also to help remind our people, remind anybody who's watching that there is a pathway toward growth. There's a pathway toward the future. If you have an open mind toward what you visibly see, and you align yourself in what your gifts and talents are, we could change the world in so many ways. And Stolen Bases podcast is one of the ways me and Coach Tre are deciding to do that going forward. Man, I'm looking forward to that. But where do you see this podcast, Stolen Bases, going, like in a year from now? I mean, we've just started this venture, and I've had my own visions, and I know you've had some of your own. But where do you see us in about a year from now?
Yeah, the overall goal, man, is just to make the greatest impact possible on the next generation. Because again, in the first episode, we talked about how we fell in love with baseball, and a lot of that first love that we had for the game came from seeing us on the
Mm-hmm.
field. We talked about the Barry Bonds. We even went back and talked about some of the players, from the 80s, like the Eddie Murphys and the Ozzie Smiths and the Ricky Hendersons, all these types of players. And it's because we saw ourselves on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, if I see myself, I can doing that, I can do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so with us now at a point to where, a lot of times we're not seeing ourselves. We don't believe that it's possible for us, or that's not a sport for us. And so for me, I really just want the younger generation to know that this is a beautiful game. It's
Mm-hmm.
not boring, as a lot of people like to say. It is a beautiful game that you can play, and that you don't need all the the money and the resources that they say you need nowadays. Yeah, I know, travel ball and all that has really just kind of made it difficult to have access to it. But this game is a beautiful game that any of us can play. But also with that, I just want us to increase our audience and our footprint in the sport of baseball. That's truly what it's really about, is just creating a footprint, so that when people think about I want to hear some baseball talk. I
Yeah.
want them to think of stolen bases.
Yeah.
Not just from a past perspective, but also from, because we're going to talk about current day situations with baseball. We're going to talk about it all, and then also just make the right connections, man. Like I know we spoke online. We would love to do an episode from the Negro League Hall of Fame one
Yeah.
day, and maybe even get involved with Major League Baseball, have a presence, maybe at next year's All-Star game. You know how, just like with the NBA All-Star game, the day before, they have this big old conference center where all the press and media from all across the world are lined up, and the players, current and from the past, just walk through, and you just grab them and interview them. That would be so dope for us to see some of the legends that of the game, and
Oh
current,
yeah.
current day, future legends as well. Just pull them, say, hey man, we'd love to talk to you, and about how you came up in the game, stuff like that. I could definitely see that happening, man. And with both of us knowing a lot of former pro players, and have connections with, we're from the same town, the CC Sabathia.
Yeah.
I could see us having somebody like him on the show. We could have somebody like, I'm here in Sacramento, home of Dusty Baker. I could see us having a Dusty Baker on the show. So
Yeah.
I just want to, and I told my cousin this, and I tell you this as well, because you're a part of the reason why I discovered this. But I discovered that I have this newfound passion in telling stories, and
Yeah.
in telling our stories. And
Yeah.
so that's really what I want to do for the rest of my life, man, is just tell our stories, man. And I don't want those stories to die. And so to have some of those legends, have some of those current players come on and tell their stories, we're creating history.
Mm-hmm.
That this is something that our children's children will be able to listen to, and have as a resource in years to come, after we're long gone.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm so excited about that. I'm glad to hear you express it in that way, because I'm in total agreement with it. From everything from seeing us, and being present at the Negro League Museum, at All Star Weekend, and those types of events, HBCU All Star Classic
Yes.
games. Those the type of things I'm looking forward to doing. And like you said, for the rest of my life, tell our story and inspire our people. That's all I want to do. Like,
Yes.
everything else is just a matter of formality, but that's life for me going forward. And so I'm so honored to be joining in this journey and on this venture, with you, Montre. I couldn't think of a better person to actually go down this road with. There are other people, but to have the same type of camaraderie, coming from the
Yeah.
same background, and having the same passion and love for sports, for baseball, and for telling stories to impact our people. I mean, it couldn't. I think it couldn't have been a better matchup, man. I'm looking forward to it so much.
Man, I agree, man. It was a match made in heaven, that's for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit, man. Y'all go over and remember, go over subscribe to the Stolen Bases podcast. It's STOLENBASES, just like it sounds. The Stolen Bases podcast. Hit subscribe. Our first episode of the Stolen Bases podcast releases on Juneteenth, June 19th. That is Saturday, June 6th, 19. So yeah, I'm wearing this shirt right
There you
here.
go.
Says making my ancestors proud, because in a few days that episode will be releasing, and so yeah, looking forward to that. Also on that with you, Coach Tre, there might be an opportunity, like you said, you see if you could get Dusty Baker on. I'm gonna try to see if we could get Mookie Betts on. Mookie Betts, even though he played for the team we both hate. Mookie Betts. He grew up and went to high school here in Nashville,
Yeah.
at Overton High School, and the head coach, I believe, at Overton High School right now, Derek McGee, is a classmate of mine from TSU. And so we may be able to make that connection happen at some
That's
point
what
in the future
happened.
as well.
That's what's up. Look, hey, as much as we both hate the Dodgers, man, I ain't got nothing but mad respect for Mookie Betts, the way he played the game, just his level of maturity, and just being an all around good guy.
Yeah.
It's hard not to cheer for him.
Absolutely. Like, I've been cheering for him, his entire career, even though I can't stand the Dodgers. But if Mookie hit one out, I'm like, cool. That's
I'm all right with it.
I hate it when it's against the Giants, though. Man, all right, bro. Let's see. You are both a certified life coach and a former high school baseball coach.
Yeah.
Right. With some college experience. So what is the difference between coaching someone through the challenges of life versus coaching someone through a playing situation on the field?
Yeah, man. You know what? There isn't much of a difference. And because since I hung up my cleats and stopped playing, I, quickly went right into coaching. First coaching, my son's T-ball team. And then from there, I was trying to be the quiet parent, even though I had, an extensive background in baseball. I didn't want to be that overbearing parent that thought that I just had to coach, my son's team. So I was trying to be that, that parent who just sat in the bleachers quietly and, cheered the team along. But, few coaches got wind that, oh, you used to play ball, we need you. I don't have any baseball experience. We need you out there. So I started, getting out there with the other coaches, and then one of the other fellow coaches, he was a PE teacher, and they asked him to be the high school baseball coach, and he didn't have any baseball playing experience, and so he asked me, would I come and coach high school baseball with him. So I spent many years coaching varsity baseball in Georgia, and sent many players on to college and the professional ranks. And so after building up so many young men for so many years, it was almost like a natural progression for me to become a life coach. And what I discovered is after becoming a life coach, there isn't much of a difference in coaching someone in baseball and coaching someone in life. Because my job as a coach and my job as a life coach isn't to basically make decisions for you. It's you make the decision that this is what you want to do. This is what you want out of life. Just like a player says, I want to be a pro baseball player. I want to play baseball. Okay, if that's the decision that you make, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that you're sharp enough, that you're skilled enough in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. The same thing in life coaching. When people tell me what their overall goal is, like I have a client right now, she wanted to, publish her first book. I said, okay, we gonna make that happen. I'm not going to tell you what to write about, but whatever decision that you make, I'm going to coach you and make sure I keep you accountable through the process. And so my job as a life coach is so much in the same vein as being a baseball coach, where I'm just there to say, yo, let's go. Where are we at? I gave you an assignment. I told you what to work on. I told you what to practice on. Did you do it? Okay. If not, there's a problem. Or if you did it, okay, here's the next steps. Here's what you need to do next. And I'm going to provide you, all the resources and the tools that you need to get to where you want to go. But then it's up to you to do it. Like
Yeah.
I can't be on the field for you. I can't step on that stage for you. I can't write the words for you. All I can do is coach you through it. And if I see a spot where there's a weakness for you, yeah, we're going to point that out and we're going to tweak it. But I'm not here to diagnose you. And that's where I think I know there's been a lot of drama lately with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, you know, with her
Yeah.
being a life coach, but trying to diagnose people. We're not here to do that. We're here to walk along with people, whatever their dream is, and just coach them through it. And what I'm realizing by being a life coach, we all need a coach. We all need someone to be accountable to. We all need someone who is going to be our biggest cheerleader when the world is telling us you can't do it, or man, I tried to do that and it didn't work, so it's definitely not going to work for you. No, we need someone to say, okay, is that what you want to do? Okay, let's get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thank you for that explanation. And some people don't understand what a life coach actually does. They hear the term and make their own assumptions about what a life coach actually is. But you broke it down pretty clearly. In athletic terms, is similar to a coach of a sport who has coaching
Mm-hmm.
a team, and he has to help his players improve, help his entire team improve, put them in the right positions, make sure that they're prepared, make sure they had proper equipment, make sure their mindset is correct, make sure that
Mm-hmm.
they doing the right things to optimize their energy and all of that. And so it sounds like what a life coach does and what you do basically is you kind of help prime people for the best version of themselves. Is that
Absolutely.
pretty much?
That's truly it. Because there's really no such thing as an overnight success. But the ones who do reach that success, it's because they had proper planning, proper strategies. And I think that the reason why a lot of people don't obtain the success that they seek is because they never learn how to plan, how to strategize. One of my mentors told me, fail to plan, plan to fail. And I
Hmm.
live by that daily. So before I make any move, I'm making sure that I put in a proper plan and strategies together. But I just didn't, have this gift of doing that. It took me having a life coach. It took for me learning this skill of planning and strategizing. And so now
Hmm.
I'm able to put a plan and strategy together for whether it's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or someone who's trying to open, a little uh, taco truck or something.
Yeah.
I can help them put the plan and strategy together to get them to where they wanted to be. And when they're ready to level up, I'm there for them as well, and kind of tweak and reorganize the plan to make it more of a bigger scale for them. So that's really what it's all about, man. And I don't want people to get the impression that we're just here to be like a low level therapist. Nah, I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm not here to treat you.
Yeah.
I'm here to make you better.
Yes, yes. That's good because I think these days based on how American society and the medical field is, everyone has a clinical thought process when it comes to their issues, like
Hmm.
a medication or a very specific kind of health regimen involved in the process of improving yourself. Sometimes it's just resetting your mind and refocusing your energy and having somebody hold you accountable to doing that every day because it's
Yes.
challenging for a lot of
Yes.
people. Some people, have difficult focusing from moment to moment, let alone
Hmm.
day to day,
Yeah.
and that's where a life coach sounds like comes in handy for people. I think that,
Absolutely.
yeah, man, I think
Absolutely.
that's great, Montre. And so, yeah, if y'all need some, especially if you're in the Sacramento area and you need some life coaching, you got one. You're looking at one right here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, hit me up. Yeah, I even, I got clients all across the country. So just go to my website, heycoachtrade.com, and we can set up something virtual, man. It's all about making people better, man. And, I'm not here, to, you know, make everything perfect, but I can make things better. And especially for people, because, I realize this too, man. The older we get, we lose a lot of connections. We lose a lot of friendships. We lose a lot of people in our inner circle. And the older we get, our inner circles get smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are people walking around with nobody to support them, nobody to, cheer them on, say, yeah, I know no one that has done what it is that you're about to do, but I know you can do it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, because we don't have no one who has done what we're trying to do in our circle, we got a lot of naysayers behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we truly need someone who is willing to say, yeah, I know you never done that before, but that doesn't mean it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put a strategy together to make it happen. And so those are the people I'm really here for. Those who have so many people who are telling them no. I want to be that one person to tell them, yeah, you can.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. When you are a person who is ambitious and you're looking within your circle of family or friends for support, and you feel like maybe you're not getting the type of support that and accountability that you're seeking just to help keep you going, that's where a life coach comes in. So y'all go Google Coach Tre Everett. Like you said, you'll find him, and no matter where you are in the country, he can help.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
that's dope. Hey, Coach, you recently celebrated and honored the life of your late son, Reggie. My sincerest thoughts and prayers to you and your family. I know this is a difficult time of year sometimes, but maybe it gets a little easier year after year. Maybe not. I'm going to let you talk about that. But in that celebration, you posted about revisiting the site of a tree that you planted in his honor. Talk
Hmm.
about why it was important for you to plant a tree in his name.
Yeah, man. So you, when it comes to us losing our son, and that level of grief, one thing is for sure, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Absolutely not. It's a level of pain that no parent should experience, and you don't get over it. Like, it hurts just as much now as it did 7 years ago. Like, you don't get over it. But what happens is you learn how to live with the grief. And therapy definitely helped me, going to grief therapy, talking to someone. I still have a therapist to this day. That it has been life changing for me, because you could find yourself in a deep pit of grief that a lot of people don't come out of.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people who are so deep in their grief that they just cannot seem to find a way out of.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, learning to live with grief in a healthy way, is so necessary. And it doesn't make, the pain easier. It just makes it to where you're strong enough to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And grief comes in waves. Like, one day you think, okay, I'm good now. I'm good now. But just like I call it an emotional roller coaster. You're good today, and the next day you're in the pits again. But you just got to realize that's part of the grief process. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and so you just have to understand that. And so once I started understanding that, I was able to remember my son for how he lived instead of how he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so a year ago, as a matter of fact, a woman who lost her son in a violent way, a tragic way. I'm grateful that my son wasn't lost to any type of street violence, anything like that. His was just a work accident. But so she's created a foundation to where each year she plants, whether it's flowers or she plants these gardens or trees in honor of lost loved ones. And so she invited me and my family to be a part of it. I was just supposed to be there more in a pastoral role. She just wanted me to say a prayer over all the trees. And so they had an extra tree. And I was like, it'd be dope to plant a tree in honor of our son Reggie, because he passed away in Florida, and he's buried in Florida. So it's not like we can just go by his grave site
Yeah,
whenever we
yeah.
want. And so to have a place here in California where we are, to where we could come visit and take care of and water as often as we want to, was very special. And then I started learning about what trees represent, and how it's almost like when you plant a tree, you're planting life. And so by us planting this tree in honor of our son, we're giving our community life, because trees are, they of course, because they're planted in the ground, they are like a natural fertilizer for the soil
Mm-hmm.
so that other things can grow. They
Mm-hmm.
absorb water so that they are able to withstand even in a place like Sacramento, where this time of year we probably won't see rain again until next January. So it's not going to rain for quite some time here.
Drought
But
season.
yeah, it's drought season for sure. But these trees are able to withstand these type of seasons. Wind storms come through here all the time, but because they're so rooted into the soil, they don't break. They may bend, but they don't break. And they also provide oxygen, what we all need to breathe. So it's so much life that comes from trees. So when I look at my son's tree that we planted in honor of him, I'm looking at his life, and I'm not looking at the tragedy of losing him. And so I'm able to go visit, that space and just sit there and just be grateful for the life that he lived.
Yes, man. Oh, man. Thank you for sharing that so much, because I've always been interested in the concept of planting a tree for the purpose. I mean, I've planted trees, just
Yeah.
planting a tree, because at one time I had a landscaping business and I planted some trees for people.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about for a purpose and a cause. And the way you described it makes it really kind of hit home. So many of us have lost a loved one, um, in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And our loved one that we lost, like you said, your son is buried in Florida. There's no way you can consistently make it back to Florida
Yeah.
when you want to go, visit the spirit of your son, but having a place right there in Sacramento, right where you are, to and it's a tangible thing that you can see grow and develop and get larger. It's like, my son is not gone. He's
Yeah.
here, represented through the life of this tree, this living thing that I'm helping to nourish and to encourage, and a place to. I just think that's such an amazing concept, because any of us who loses a loved one can take that same action and say, my loved one might have been lost in some other state or some other city that I can't get back to the gravesite
Yeah.
often enough as I would like to, but I could put something right here in my yard, or right here, wherever, and and give my love to it, speak to
Yes.
it, and watch it also give life to other people through those things you talked about: fertilization of the soil,
Yeah.
oxygen into the air, that's in shade, all those types of things. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Hope this inspires someone out there that might be going through a grieving process. Maybe that's a way to help, alleviate some of that pain, and to, provide some meaning to the loss of your loved one, going forward.
Absolutely, man. I hope that it does help someone, and maybe for you, and some of us may live in a concrete jungle like New York or L.A., and there may not be an opportunity to plant a tree, but you could start small by just maybe planting a small flower garden in your backyard.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you this story really quick. The house we lived in now, shortly after moving in, there was a lot of landscaping that needed to be done, in the front in the front of the house. And so I had this guy just happen to drive by and say, "Hey, looks like you need some landscaping help." And he had a landscaping business, so I hired him to kind of clean out some of the shrubs that I wanted gone, kind of make it look a little bit decent. And so we ended up, just talking a little bit, and in conversation, I somehow shared, that we recently lost our son, and he told me, do you would you mind if I plant a rose garden in honor of your son?
Mm.
He said, no extra charge. I would just like to do this for you. And so I was like, wow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And so he ended up planting this beautiful rose garden, man. We have this one rose bush that's all beautiful yellow flowers. The other one is red roses. And, this time of year that they're just blooming like crazy right now. And after he planted this rose garden, and my wife came out and she saw the garden. And I said, this guy wanted to do this for us. He planted this rose garden in honor of Reggie. She just broke down in tears and just thanked the man, and it just did her heart so well. And now today, we've been in this house for 6 years. 6 years later, these rose bushes are huge and just blooming like crazy. But the crazy thing is, man, is that the guy gave me his business card, said, hey, if you need any other landscaping work, reach out to me. I said, yeah, you're my guy. A couple weeks later, after he planted that rose garden for us, I tried calling him. No response. Mm. I looked him up, before that, I found him, saw him on social media, tried to find him on Facebook. Not there. I went to his email address and Google said this email address never existed. And so this man is like just gone without a trace. And for me, I believe this man was an angel. I truly believe that, because there's no way I could find this guy now. But here he is, planning this, it was a message from our son telling me that, I'm all right. I'm all right. And there's still life after this world. And so, every day when I walk outside my door, I see those rose bushes in honor of my son. And I just look at him and say, what's up, Reg?
That's dope, man. That's dope. That's an amazing story, man. I love that. And I'm glad that you have, that tree and that rose bush and those memories, that story to help remind you that, there is life. There can be life after you lose a loved one.
Yeah.
It's just all in how you internalize the grief process and how you go
Absolutely.
about, making sure that you're okay through the grief process. I think that's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you for your vulnerability in sharing that, because I know that's, sometimes that could be emotional topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we'll switch gears a little bit. You and your wife, you just talked about her, man. Beautiful wife. You and your wife have done quite a bit of traveling over the past few years. And you guys are starting to document those trips in a very unique way. Talk about your travel podcast and some of the experiences that you both have shared together.
Yeah, man, this is something that we recently decided to do over the past few months. I mean, we love to travel. We don't do it as much as we want to, but at least we try to plan, at least one, just real good trip each year. And so, a couple of years ago, our daughter, she left for college, and she's the baby. And then we realized, okay, we're empty nesters now. What do we do with this time that we have together? And I'll admit, for a little while, we struggle with that, because, from day one of being married to now, we were always mom and dad. We were always taking care of someone. Mm. And now there's no one in the house to take care of. And so it's a different experience. And it's something that I think parents need to prepare themselves for. I know a lot of parents say, well, I can't wait till you 18 and out the house. But once it happens, it's like it hits you in a different way. And now, you're stuck in the house with this, with your spouse, and you just looking at each other like, what do we do now? And so we decided, what, let's try to help others through this empty nesting season as well, because we have a lot of friends our age now who are sending their children off to college, or maybe empty nesters for the first time. And so we're like, let's just share our adventures. So we had booked a trip to Spain last fall, and we decided that'll be the first trip that we document. So our first episodes of our YouTube channel called Empty Ever After. Instead of Happily Ever After, we're just empty nesters. So it's called Empty Ever After, man. Oh. And so, we just documented, portions of our trip, the beauty of the country of Spain. I highly recommend folks visit the southern coast of Spain. It's beautiful, so beautiful. And so the response was so great, was like, let's keep doing this. So we're not just doing, these big exotic trips that we do, but maybe a weekend getaway. We just posted a couple weeks ago our most recent episode where we were taking our daughter back down to Southern California after spring break. And so we decided to make a weekend out of it. So we documented that. We just recorded another one, which will be available soon, where we just had a day date. We went to a float spa, where we just was in like this little pod floating in salt water. And so,
Wow.
just doing those things as it's almost like we're dating each other again. And so, and that's part of that empty nesting thing, because if you're just sitting around the house, you're just going to be miserable. So we're making sure, we're going out to concerts, going out to dinner, making sure we have those regular date nights. And so we're just bringing people, with us to hopefully encourage other couples, to thrive during this season of empty nesting. This is not the end of life. This is not, okay, it's all down here from now. No, there's still a lot of life to live. And so through our Empty Ever After podcast, we're just showing people that, and it's not just going to be about us, taking trips and taking people along with us, but we're also going to sit down together and have, some rich conversations about marriage, about life, about parenting and things like that. So it's a lot more to come from the Empty Ever After YouTube channel. Go subscribe to that as well. So we're going to give y'all, the audience, a lot of assignments today. Subscribe to Stolen Basis, subscribe to Empty Ever After, and we got so
And if
much,
you're not
so much
already
more
subscribed
content.
to Revisit Your Dreams, go ahead and do that too.
Exactly. Yes, indeed.
Man, I'm so excited about Empty Ever After as well. I've watched all those episodes. I really enjoyed them. If you guys go tap into Empty Ever After, especially if you are approaching the empty nester stage, the way that Coach Tre edits those videos is very entertaining, very engaging, very informative. At the same time, he's giving facts and tips and a lot of different looks and angles. It's not just him taking a bunch of selfies. So it brings you into the space. I kind of felt like I was there with you. So
Yeah.
y'all go tap into Empty Ever After.
Yeah, that's definitely the
YouTube
goal,
channel.
man. We just want to promote, travel, seeing the world. A lot of us, haven't left the place where we were born. A lot of people have never left the United States. There's so much more in this world to see besides what's in your backyard. So if we can, encourage somebody to, get that passport, get it stamped, and just travel and see the world, we're definitely going to do that.
You definitely inspiring me. I've been, to Canada, outside of the
Yeah.
United States border, but that's still North America. I've
Yeah.
been to Mexico for 3 days in Mexico, and like I don't know what, I think Punta Cana or
Yeah.
whatever, somewhere down there.
Yeah.
But had a good time. But I haven't gone beyond those borders.
Yeah.
So
We got to get you across the water, boy.
yeah, your videos are inspiring me. Like, what? If Tre could do it, I could do it. All right, Montre, your book, Divorcing the Church to Marry God. Since you were last here, we talked about you had recently released that book.
Yeah.
And since then, how has that work been received, and how have you been encouraged by its release?
Man, it's been I'll admit it's been a challenge. So divorcing church to marry God, you probably see it over my shoulders right there. That wasn't a shameless plug. It just happened to be
just right there, and that's dope how you can just point it. There it is,
right, exactly.
And the one next to it too.
And that's the first book. Faith Strong is the first book, so they right there. But no, divorcing church to marry God is about my second book, and it came during the time where I was not questioning my faith, but just questioning some of the actions in the church. Having served in the role as pastor, it allows you to see some things. It allows you to see the most beautiful aspects of the church, but it also allows you to see the most ugliest and hideous side of the church as well. And so it ignited something in me to write about it, but write about it in a healthy way. I didn't want this book to be a book that points the finger at the church, like all that's wrong in the world is because the church ain't doing this and the church ain't doing that. No, this is actually my love letter to the church. And just like being a father, I want the best for my children. And sometimes wanting the best for my children requires me to give them some harsh criticism and some, and kind of give them some correction. And so this is, my love letters to the church saying, hey, I love you, but there's some things that you could do better. And so I know that the title threw a lot of people, and sadly, it threw a lot of people in the church and made them distance themselves from me because they thought that this book was an admonishment of the church, which it is not. But for those, my book is an example of you don't judge a book by its cover, truly, because once you start reading the contents of the books, you realize, oh, I understand where he's coming from now, that this is just truly a love letter to the church. And so it's been challenging because you have people who have distanced themselves, a lot of pastors, a lot of people who have grew up in ministry with, distanced themselves from me because of the book title without even reading the book.
I was going to say, have they even read the book?
I doubt if they did.
Wow.
I truly doubt if they did. They just saw the title and thought, oh, he's anti-church now. Yeah. But that's far from the case. But it also opened up some new opportunities because there are so many people who are living with church hurt, and they have made the decision that I'll never go back to church again because of what that church did to me. And so what this book says to you, okay, that church may have did that to you, but that church doesn't represent every church, because there are more churches out there who are doing the good work. There are more churches out there who are doing things the right way than there are those that are doing things the wrong way. Yeah, I know they get the headlines and everything, but there are some churches locally in every single city in this country who are doing some amazing work in their community. And so my book help those people who are dealing with church hurt. Man, you wouldn't believe how many people have email, text, message me on all my different platforms saying, thank you for this book. It made me fall in love with the church again, the true church, not the brick and mortar building, but the true essence of the church. And people are giving church a second chance because of this book. So that's who this book is for.
Yeah. That's, I'm glad that you described it in the way that you did, that my book is a book that is truly the definition of don't judge a book by its cover. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that some people in your close circle, in your, pastoral circle, have distanced themselves from you since you've written that book. But it shows the power of impact. Mm-hmm. And in both directions. So your book, the title of the book is an impactful title. It made people make a decision right away before they even opened the page on how they were going to respond to it. Mm-hmm. And that is powerful. So it shows that you have the ability to express powerful words, powerful statements, but the book itself is an in-depth explanation of what that impactful title means.
Yeah.
And so I encourage anyone who hears the title, Divorcing the Church to Marry God, to not judge that title by its title, but to turn the pages. I envision, when you talked about so many people who have read the book and encouraged by the book and thanked you for writing it, this is just me, my mind always goes straight to it. All right, that's a problem. How can we solve it?
Yeah.
My mind always does that. So as soon as you're talking about how people received it, I'm like, okay, not enough people have opened it. Not enough people have read it, especially those people who have distanced themselves from you. So I just envision a the camera is just filming the open pages of the book to a specific spot in the book. That's a very powerful statement that most everybody, even those people who have distanced themselves from you, could relate to and be like, man, that makes sense. But it's just the open page. They don't even know that it's from your book.
Yeah.
And it's just being read. That passage is being read, and then there's a pause, and then the book closes and it sees the cover, and it's like, oh, that's what this book is about.
I like that.
Know what I'm saying? So anyway, we might have to cut this out of the video so I don't give away that secret for you, or we could leave it in there. But I think that's a dope way.
I like that.
Came to me.
I love that. That's so dope. And, because that's what I want. And, the title of the book, I'll admit, I was so intentional about that title. I knew by writing this book, I wanted a title that really made people uncomfortable. And that's part of being a life coach.
Yeah.
That, I'm going to challenge you. I'm not going to always tell you what you want to hear. You're not going to always get the bed of roses from me. Sometimes you're going to get that hard conversation. And, one of the things that I always, tell people, and I live by it as well, is that hard conversations bring healing. If we're not having hard conversations, if we're not, talking about the ugly things and trying to find some common ground about these type of things, we'll never find the healing. That's what's wrong with this country now. Nobody wants to truly sit down and have the hard conversations. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you. And this is why, and I need you to receive it from a place of love. And I want you to do the same thing with me. But in this disagreement, let's find common ground. Let's start there. Where do we agree? Because if we could find that, if we could start by where we agree, then we can deal with all the disagreement stuff, because we're always going to get back to the basic. Well, we agree on this.
Yeah.
And so I think by people just giving the book a chance, by opening it, even the first chapter, they're going to say, you know what? That makes sense. I agree with this premise, so I can trust the rest of the book. Whether I agree with the other chapters or not, I can trust that this is coming from a place of love, just because I agree with what he said in chapter 1.
Yes, yes. And today in society, you said there's a lot of that going around where things are being judged before it's even examined, before the depth of it examined. And sometimes, unfortunately, it leads to a loss of life,
Yes.
in this country.
Yes.
There's no time for explanation. I mean, I don't want to bring up a bunch of stories, but I mean,
Yeah.
Tamir Rice is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. No explanation, no context, just on site. And
Yeah.
we need to really, like you said, examine a little bit more in depth some of these subjects, and make our own judgments based on the whole story and not just the title. I love that, man. I encourage you guys, go. You can find his book, Divorcing the Church to Marry God, on Amazon.com. You can also find it, I think, on his site at Coach Tre. What's your website?
Website is heycoachtre.com. And if you order it, either my book, Divorcing Church to Marry God, or my first book, which is a 60-day devotional called Faith Strong, if you order it on my website, I'll sign it personally before it's shipped out. So you get an autographed copy for the same price that you would pay on Amazon.
That's dope. Order it from heycoachtre.com. That's where you go order from. All right, Montre.
Yes, indeed.
You seem to have a gifted ability, and you just kind of just talked about it. You seem to have a gifted ability to absorb a difficult story, a difficult life story, translate its meaning, and express your unique position on that subject. Even when it might be emotionally draining on you, I see that you still find it within you to pull that out of you to make an impact. Where does this ability or strength within you come from?
Man, only thing I can say that it comes from God, man, because being raised and only child, I'm an automatic introvert. Like if there's a room full of people, I'm not trying to be the life of the party. I'm over sitting near the punch bowl and then trying to find me a seat. I'm the wallflower. But God has just given me this passion, man, of having a voice for the voiceless, being a voice for the voiceless. And so, when I see, I try, I don't want to oversaturate, my content by always speaking out on every situation, because, that gets depressing, and it really weighs down on me. But, when something is really pulling at me, I don't just go out and just say, hey, this is wrong, or we need to, shine a spotlight on this. I take some time, critical thinking is a gift that we all need. And so I normally take some time to, to research the situation, or understand the history, so I could tell a story. It goes back to that again, just telling the story, not giving my spin on it, but just telling the story and allowing the story to pull at people's heartstrings, whether for the good or for the bad. And it challenges people. I want to also, when I'm speaking about something, when I'm telling a story, um, I want people to feel challenged. Even if you fully agree with me 100%, there's going to be something in the content that challenges you to be better. And if you adamantly disagree, I'm not saying that I'm completely right, but I just want to give you the challenge. Is there something about what Trey is saying that I disagree with? Is there something about me that I need to be checked on? Because I do that for myself. I watch my content as if it's not me, because
Yeah.
I want to ask myself, is there something about me that I could be better at? And 9 times out of 10, absolutely yes, is the case. And so, I just really have that passion for just telling stories in a way that challenges people to be better and to do better. It's uncomfortable sometimes. It requires me to be vulnerable. It requires me to put myself out there and face some attacks here and there. But I'm doing it from the heart, and I'm doing it because I'm not here to please everyone. It goes back to my Christian faith. I'm not here for everyone. I'm here for that one. There's a parable in the Bible where it says, the farmer, the shepherd had 100 sheep and one got lost, so he left the 99 to go after that one. And so with every piece of content, every time that I use my voice, I'm going after that one.
Man, uh, you explained it perfectly, and when hit dog will holler, man. I'm hollering right
There it
now.
is.
I'm hollering right now because most of your videos you watch, I'll be like, man, I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree. Damn, you talking about me? Is he talking about me? Man, I need to check myself. Man, very impactful. And it goes to show, oh, excuse me, it goes to show, how it translates to you being a life coach, because I can see now that, even as our relationship is still growing and
Hmm.
developing, I'm learning more about how your mind thinks and how it processes information, because I know, because we're like spirits, I know that some of these concepts and these things that you're talking about challenge you
Hmm.
to, be authentic. Like you said, some of them are vulnerable. Some of them
Yeah.
I can tell that they tap on your emotions a little bit, and you just
Hmm.
you're trying to keep a
Yeah.
even kill. You
Yeah.
kind of want to come out of you. You're like,
Yes, sir.
I really like saying something different right now, but
Oh
and
man, it's
even in how you respond to the
yeah.
comments on the post. I mean, I've seen some of the comments that people have made and how you respond to them. Like you said, is always trying to find that even ground.
Mhm.
And like I guess that's the basic foundation of what a life coach is here for, is to keep everybody on level ground.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like you said, them hit dogs, they show enough going holler, man. But
Yeah.
they not part of the one that I'm going after. I pray that eventually something that I said challenges them to kind of reassess, their way of thinking. But it's all good, because I know in a lot of cases, they want to see the stereotypical black male come out.
Hmm.
They want to see me clap back. They want to see me cuss them out. They want to see me threaten them, and things like that. They're not gonna get that out of me, man, because I want to show them that there's more black men like you and me
Yep.
who can speak intelligently, speak without using derogatory terms, but still get our point across in a very effective way.
Hmm.
That does more harm to their psyche than if we cuss them out. Because if
Exactly.
we cussed them out, we basically gave them what they wanted.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. I've had to, even on this channel, I've had a couple of comments on some posts that I've made. from some of my guests, and they had
Mm-hmm.
some certain comments, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and then that's
Yeah.
gonna be the end. I'm not responding again.
That's
You
it.
do what you want to do with
Mm-hmm.
that information, but I clearly told you how I felt about it.
There it is.
All right, man. We're getting toward the end, but we got a couple more. Let's quickly talk about preparation. Okay, you record a lot of video, a lot of
Yeah.
content, and a lot of different varieties of content. Some of your content is in the car, outside, your
Mm-hmm.
backyard, in the park somewhere. I don't know where you
Mm-hmm.
at. Some of these things
Yeah.
on your couch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Talk about and you also are commenting a lot of times, making posts about current topics, something
Mm-hmm.
that's going on right now in the news.
Yeah.
So you're staying, engaged. How do you make sure that you have all, like, I'm talking about practical stuff,
Yeah.
equipment, the types of equipment that you use. I'm not trying to get you to give us a detail of the name
Yeah.
brands and all of that, but
Mm-hmm.
the types of equipment you use, the type of ways that you're able to prepare yourself to, at when it hits, I have this, I set this up, and this is how I'm ready to go, or this is, how does that all come about? Because you do it so often and
Yeah.
so timely with what's going on in the
Yeah.
current news.
So, the first thing I do is make sure that whatever the subject matter is something that I'm passionate about, because there's one thing about my audience and anybody's audience. People recognize real, but they also can detect the fake.
Mm-hmm.
So they can definitely tell when you're just creating content, just be creating content.
Mm-hmm.
But they can also recognize where you're truly passionate about this, and that you put your heart and soul into this. And so I make sure that, every bit of content that I put out, even the funny stuff, even the stuff that's entertaining, is coming from a place of passion, because that I love to make people laugh, and I want to make sure that if I'm doing something funny, I want to make sure that this is for that one person who's just having a horrible day today, and they just need some simple reason to smile. And so that's really, the basis of anything that I put out. The next thing is I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. There are so many talking heads out there who just hear one side of the story, or just see one headline and they just run with it. And all of a sudden, we think that, they are the gospel truth on this subject matter, knowing that they didn't do the research, they didn't take the time in to do critical thought, critical thinking, and practice journalism 101.
Yeah.
Get both sides of the story, get the what, where, how, and when. And I don't want to be that. There's enough of that. So I make sure that I take, sometimes it only takes me, maybe 10 minutes. If I wait just 10, 15 minutes, to read maybe one or two articles, on a certain situation, to truly get a fuller understanding of it, that makes my content that much more reliable and trustworthy. And so once I know, what it is that I'm talking about, and I have, a bit of a background, so that, like we learned in college, cite your sources. Once I have my sources together, then I can start creating. And when it comes to content creation, it's not that I'm, I've leveled up. I got some pretty good cameras now, and stuff like that. As you can see, we got some pretty nice microphones, but that wasn't how I started. I started with just this thing right in front of my face. And, if you got a quality camera, camera on your phone, that can get you started. And, there's some great, video editing software apps out there that can help you get started. The key is, to really make it your content short and sweet, unless you're doing a full on podcast episode like what we're doing now. If you're just putting content on social media or doing a YouTube short, you want to do something that's going to grab people's attention within the first 5 seconds. Because that's the thing. If you're not grabbing people's attention in 5 seconds, these thumbs will keep going real quick, fast, in a hurry. So you really want people to know what your content is talking about, what the subject matter is, within 5 seconds. This is not a movie. You're not building a plot. You giving it to them within 5 seconds. And then after that, you want to keep it most of my content is 90 seconds or shorter. Yeah, I have some that may push closer to 3 minutes, if it's like for a YouTube short or something like that. But for most of my Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook content, I try to keep it within 90 seconds because I know people nowadays, we have short attention spans and they're watching this on the go. And so you want to make sure it's short and sweet. And there's so much video editing software that helps you make sure that your content is short and sweet. Yeah, I'm not out here, doing camera cuts. It may look like that in some content where you see the camera cut really quick. No, there's
Mhm.
software that does that for me, and a lot of that software is available for free. Definitely utilize it. And now some of the apps like TikTok and Instagram, they have editing software embedded into their app. So you
Mhm.
really don't even have to go to an outside source. So you have these templates to really make your content stand out, and make it something that people want to see. And then also, I'm not afraid to use the power of AI. I'll go to Claude. Claude is my favorite. I sometimes use Chat GPT, and I'll just tell AI, hey, I'm trying to create some content, talking about this subject matter. Write me a script that's about 90 seconds long, that's impactful, that keeps the listener in tune, and really challenges them to do better. And so, of course, I'll make it my own. I'm not reading it word for word, but it just creates a template for me to go by so that it flows, so that I could just really flow when I hit that record button. So there's so many resources out there, man. I'm actually going to create a short masterclass and have that available on my website later this fall. That really, gives people the basics when it comes to content creation, especially for those who are, 40 plus like us, who, want to, create content, but feel like, okay, I'm too old for this. This is a young man's game. Absolutely not. Us older people, us middle-aged people, we have a voice and we have stories to tell that could impact, the next generation, and also help those who in our age demographic.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Thank you for going through that detailed explanation of kind of some of the things that you use, some of the processes. Some of us who have ideas, hopefully, audience that inspires you a little bit. If you've had a desire to be more open with your content creation, the different varieties of types of content that you could create is kind of vast, really.
Hmm.
And there's the pool is very deep, so you can jump in and then find your way. But there's so many different, like he talked about, these apps have their own editing software integrated within them. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all
Hmm.
the YouTube, they all have their own type of editing software, so you can start there for free. Just like you
Yes.
said, picking up a phone and just hitting record. Most people have a phone that can record video and audio, and
Yeah.
while it may not be the greatest quality, you got to start somewhere and start with what you
Absolutely.
have. The only way Coach Trey and myself have gotten to where we've gotten right now in our social media output is starting with what we had. I didn't
Yep.
always have all this lights and equipment, and I didn't always have all this. I started with what I had, and built and grew from there. So
Mm.
I hope this inspires someone. And I'm intrigued by the masterclass that mentioned, having coming out in the fall. I'm in the same line. We have so much in common,
Yeah.
Trey. We're gonna
Yeah, for
talk more
sure.
about that as well, because I've also started that process and want to start inspiring people to speak their voice, create their channel, create their podcast, create their you know express
Yes.
themselves in whatever fashion that they have, because there's so many different ways of creating, and so many different people that have ideas, but they're just stuck in their own head,
Yep.
and they're letting their own mental limitations stop them from pursuing a dream that could impact their life tremendously and everybody else's too.
Man, 100%, man. And this is what really ignited me. And I hope that this ignites someone. If maybe this is the only reason you're here, is to hear this, because we know for a fact that the largest search engine in the world is Google, right?
Mhm.
But do we realize that the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
more people will go to YouTube nowadays to find something to help fix their life than they will go to a search engine.
Oh
How do I repair a leaky faucet? How do I, change the oil on my car? How do I bake a cake? People are going to YouTube for these answers. And so that's why I encourage people to tell your story. You have a gift, a skill to share with the world. Put it out there. Don't worry about it being high production, anything like that. Just hit that record button and put it out there. Somebody needs to see the content that is in you. It needs to be out there for the world to see. I didn't realize that, there were so many people who wanted to hear my voice. But now with almost 90 people following me on TikTok, another, 10K on Facebook, and, now my YouTube platforms are growing. I didn't realize that, people would rely on hearing my voice, but it's just all about putting it out there. So people, tell your story. Tell your story.
Man, I love that. Tell your story too. Don't be afraid to put it out there. I don't know how many times, like you said, it's true. I've gone to Google sometimes and searched some things, but if I'm going to Google searching, I'm looking for an image, I'm looking for a news article, I'm looking for a specific website. But when I want to learn how to do something, I'm going to YouTube.
Yep.
I've gone to YouTube and learned how to do stuff with my car, learn how to cook something, learn how to fix my glasses. Like I didn't went to YouTube for all kind of stuff. So,
yes, indeed.
Like, and these people, think about it. Someone made a video on how to put a screw in the little corner of these glasses.
Yeah.
And you would think, why would I want to do that? How interesting is that? When I went to that video, over 2 million people watched that video.
There it is.
And it was like 90 seconds.
Yeah, 90 seconds. And that dude's, whoever created that video is probably making a couple $1,000s a month.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. Just put it out there. So we're going to get into that more too. All right, Coach, this has been so much fun. I've enjoyed these conversations. We're going to have many more on the Stolen Bases podcast and other ventures we might jump into, but I can't let you jump in the ride and hop up out the ride without having some fun with you. Revisit your dream style, man. So it's time for another installment of Who Got It? Let's get it. All right, Montre, your family has roots in Port St. Joe, Florida. You were raised in Vallejo, California, and you lived in Savannah/Atlanta, Georgia as well for several years. All right, so we need to know who got it between Port St. Joe, Vallejo, and let's just say ATL.
Ooh.
All right. You ready?
Ooh, let's go.
All right. There's six topics in this segment. So topic number 1, who got it? Vallejo, Port St. Joe, or ATL? Who has the best access to a large body of water?
Ooh, I got to get at the Port St. Joe. I know Vallejo is that itty bitty city by the bay, but Port St. Joe is that itty bitty city by the ocean. I mean, it is truly. I mean, the Gulf of Mexico is right there in Port St. Joe, and I mean, it's straight up ocean. Like, and the water, man, is it. It almost gives you a feel like you're in the Caribbean because you got the white sand beaches, you got the blue water, and it's warm. Like, as much as I love California, I don't go to the beach out here. That water cold out here.
Yeah, it's cold and dark.
Yeah, it's dark, but man, out there in Florida, man, in Port St. Joe, you could go waist deep and still see your feet, and the water is just warm, man. Yeah, man, I'll always choose Florida, Port St. Joe, when it comes to the body of water.
That's dope, man. I love it. I've been to Destin, Florida, and it's
that's
only
not too far.
that I've been to where there's white sand beaches, and you can clearly see. You walk out, and it's like, man, it's beautiful. So man, if you grew up, and I know how prideful growing up in Vallejo is and being by the water, but you grew up, you had those experiences, man. I can't even imagine. Like, yeah, I would pick Port St. Joe or Vallejo
for sure
all day when it comes to that part. All right, man. That was the best access to a large body of water. and he chose Port St. Joe. All right, Coach Trey, who got it? Port St. Joe, Vallejo, or ATL? Who has the most diverse cultural experience?
Ooh. Mmm. It's close between ATL and Vallejo, but I got to give the nod to Vallejo. I mean, I didn't realize until a couple years ago that Vallejo is the most diverse city in America. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's pretty dope. But yeah, Atlanta has a lot of different cultures. But I mean, it's just so rooted in Black culture. I got to give the more diverse culture to Vallejo because we grew up in Vallejo and we have friends of every race and
Mm-hmm.
ethnicity and background. There were Saturdays where I would wake up and go watch cartoons at my white friend's house, and in the afternoon I'm playing video games at my Filipino friend's house.
Yeah.
And then going over to my Black friend house. Later on that evening. That's just Vallejo, man. And
Yeah.
so that rich culture and that we have from Vallejo comes from diversity.
Yeah.
I enjoy my palate for food is so vast because of Vallejo. Because we grew up eating Filipino food, we grew up eating Mexican food, we grew up eating all these different types of cuisines, just because that was what was in the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so you don't get that, from a lot of places nowadays, man. But yeah, shout out to Vallejo for being so diverse.
Yeah, man. Definitely on that note. I mean, I spent some time in ATO too, very diverse in certain ways, but it's
Yeah,
so rich in Black culture that
yeah,
it's hard to see the diversity
exactly.
outside of that. But in Vallejo, like you said, my mom growing up had my grandmother had a beauty salon on Mini Drive, right
Yeah,
across the street from College Park, and in that shopping center up on the hill right
I
there.
know exactly what you're
And
talking about. Yeah,
oh yeah, it was a church there. It was LaKenya's beauty salon. And the only reason why I bring that up is because when you talk about the diversity in food and stuff like that, there was a Filipino restaurant at one time there. There
hmm
was a Korean store with a restaurant in it. There was my grandfather owned a barbecue joint in one of the spots.
yeah,
Next door to the beauty salon was a Louisiana seafood kitchen.
yep.
And then they had a burrito truck that used to come park in there.
In the parking
Like,
lot,
man,
yep.
any day I could choose whatever I wanted, like whatever cultural food I wanted. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So that's crazy. The diversity there. It's hard to find that these days anywhere where you have that much diversity in one shopping
Absolutely.
center.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach Trey, we on to the next one. That was the most diverse cultural experience. All right, who got it? If money was no object, which city in which city would you build your dream home?
Ooh. Man. That's a good one. That's a good one. If out of those three cities, I would choose Port St. Joe just because it's so close to the water. Atlanta, I love it because of just the richness of the city, the people there, the vibe, gives you that big city vibe, but also gives the history of the South. But yeah, to be able to build a dream home right there on the beach, give me Port St. Joe.
Yeah, for real. I kind of figured you was gonna choose that one because I'm like, man, if you don't choose Point St. Joe, I don't know. I wouldn't choose that, bro. I love Vallejo. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
I ain't building my dream home there.
I ain't building my dream home. Not my dream home.
I might build somebody else a house there, but
You know what I'm saying? I have a house there.
yeah,
I can some place I can go stay in when I go visit the city. You
there
know what I'm
you
saying?
go.
But yeah, not my dream home. All right, that was if money was no object, in which city would Coach Trey build his dream home? He chose Port St. Joe, Florida. All right, who got it? Port St. Joe, Florida, Vallejo, or ATL? Who has the best sports culture?
Ooh, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming because I mean the sports culture and the history in all three are just amazing. It's some
Yeah.
beautiful stories. You have some of the most greatest athletes coming out of these places. But if you talk about just sports culture, not talking about, who's most talented, the best athletes or whatever, but when we're just talking about sports culture, I'm going to give the nod to Atlanta only because of the fact that it's a big city and that you have major league sports year round. You got the Hawks, you got the Falcons, you got the Braves. They lost in NHL, but you got a minor league in NHL team up the way, not far. And then with the
They
lower
have a
level,
WNBA
they
team.
got a WNBA team. They got, you got Georgia Tech right there in downtown Atlanta. An hour away, you got University of Georgia. So you got top tier college sports. The high school football, basketball, and baseball scene
Crazy.
is crazy, man. So
Crazy in Georgia.
if you're a sports fan, if you had to pick one of the three, I gotta give it to the ATL.
Yeah, I agree with that one wholeheartedly. I mean, I spent some time down there. Of course, culturally, like you said, Vallejo, our city has a lot to offer when it
Yeah,
comes to
oh,
sports.
yes.
But you kind of got to be from there to understand how
Hmm.
deep it is. You
Yeah,
don't have to be from ATL to understand and see the depth of the sports culture there.
yeah,
Even like we talked in Stolen Bases, on our podcast, there's so much history from the Negro Leagues that is based in Georgia, that this sports culture started in the 1800s.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas maybe in Vallejo and Port St. Joe, the culture is a lot newer. Dope response, and I totally agree. If you like this conversation, we have more conversations like this on the Stolen Bases podcast. Y'all subscribe to it. STOLENBASES. You'll see both of our faces on that page when you go, so you'll know that it's us. All right. That was the best sports culture. We got two more. All right, who
Okay.
got it? Port St. Joe, Vallejo, or ATL? Who got the best weather?
Ooh, man. Ooh. Eh. Well, Port St. Joe and Atlanta weather isn't that different because you're in the South, so you got that humidity. This
Mhm.
time of year in the summer, you got the well, you're not too far from ATO. You're gonna have those afternoons thunderstorms coming through,
Yeah,
so it kind of puts a damper on the afternoons, in the summertime. You got
it
to be
happened
done by
today
3 o'clock because that 4 o'clock thunderstorm go roll through. So you better be done whatever you're doing. The
for
big
sure.
picnic over at 3.
Yeah, go to the grocery store, everything, man. You don't want to be caught outside. Period.
But man, this is a hard one, but only because I like the dry climate better than the humidity. I'm gonna give the nod to Vallejo, but we know being from the Bay Area, once that sun go down, it get cold in the Bay.
Yeah, it do. It
But
do.
them days, especially the summer days, man, it ain't nothing like it, man. It's not too hot, not cold. You got that cool breeze coming in off the water, man. A Saturday afternoon at Dan Foley ain't nothing like it.
You can't match it, man. You don't have to have t-shirt, shorts, and you Gucci,
You
man. And
Gucci,
like it's the you can't even describe it. Like the
yeah,
weather is beautiful. I know there's places where they have beautiful weather.
yeah,
Port St. Joe, I'm sure the weather there is phenomenal on
yeah.
some days out of the year,
Oh yeah,
especially when there's no humidity. In Atlanta, it fluctuates a lot with the
hmm,
storms and
yeah,
weather patterns, just like it does here in Nashville. But in Vallejo, like you said, consistently
yeah.
about 80% of the year in the during the day, it is absolutely
Yes,
beautiful.
yes,
I mean, you talk about your skin feels great when you walk
yes,
outside. Your
yes.
lungs feel great when you breathe the air. You feel
Yeah.
like your nails and your hair is growing better out there. Just like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
That's what
right.
it feels like, bro.
For sure. So
so,
yeah, shout out to Vallejo for the good weather.
yeah, man, ain't nothing like that Vallejo weather for sure. I miss that tremendously. People ask me all the time, "Do you miss it, man?" That's the one thing. I mean, my family, yeah, but the one
Hmm.
thing I miss most is that weather, man.
No doubt.
All right, last one. Who got it? Port St. Joe, Vallejo, or ATL? where do you think is the best place to raise a black family?
Ooh, that's so good. That man. Ooh. Um, I feel a little bit different about Atlanta than I did when I first moved there in 2000. But I'm gonna still give the nod to Atlanta. Um, Vallejo right now, we know it has its challenges for many reasons. Um, Port St. Joe, because it's in the deep South, it has its challenges. It's trying to evolve, but it's a slow process. Being that it's a small town, it has its challenges. It's still in some ways stuck in the past. You know, people are stuck in their ways, and in some ways, this town is still somewhat segregated. You got a black side of town and you got a white side of town. Yeah, you have more black people moving over to the white side, but it's still somewhat segregated, and people don't really congregate together until they get to like the little downtown area. But Atlanta, you have so many successful black professionals, and it's still a great place to raise a family, especially in some of the suburban communities. So I would still give that nod to the ATL. That's one of the things that it enticed me to move to Atlanta, was the fact that there were so many successful black professionals living there, and just a richness of black households and families. I was able to connect two of my closest friends in Atlanta. They had established homes, had wives and children, so it helped me be a better husband and father by having friends who were doing it. One was a
Mm-hmm.
captain, a captain in the at the Atlanta Fire Department. The other one, it was an established school teacher. I'm like, whoa, my two best friends are a firefighter and a school teacher. Am I living in like this new universe where it's just where you really do see black families with the the house with the picket fence?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a beautiful thing, man. So yeah, I gotta give that nod to Atlanta.
Yes, man. I would, now that one I would agree with. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know anything about Port St. Joe, Florida,
yeah,
except for what you've shared with me to this point. But Atlanta, I do have that experience. My father still lives down there. My sister lives down there. She's raising her young son down
hmm
there. And so I do know how it is in Atlanta. And I would say that if I had to choose between the three, because of the cultural experience and I find it as a very high entrepreneurial spirit
yeah,
in the city of Atlanta. There's a
yeah.
lot of hustlers and go getters, and I
hmm
don't mean hustlers in a negative way. I mean
Right.
just people
Yeah.
that's just out there just getting it.
hmm
It's very progressive in that way, and I think that's very inspiring for
Absolutely.
a young person to grow up in and see and have that part of their DNA that, hey, I'm gonna get it out the mud and I'm gonna make it happen no matter
Yep.
what. You
Yep.
have to in the ATL. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So yeah, man, that was dope. Thank you for your responses to those questions. I enjoyed that segment of who got it.
That was dope,
Uh,
man. I like that.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. He had the best access to a large body of water. He chose Port St. Joe, Florida, the most diverse cultural experience. He chose Vallejo, California. If money was no object, in what city would he build his dream home in? He chose Port St. Joe, Florida, because of access to the water. The best sports culture, he chose ATL. Obvious choice between the three. The best weather, not so obvious, but he chose our hometown, the itty bitty city by the bay, which is
Yeah.
Vallejo, California, and the best place to raise a black family. Coach Tre would raise his black family. If he had to do it all over again, he probably would start it all over from the beginning in the ATL.
That's where I
Man,
raised my family, and I'll do it again.
that's dope, man. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking that ride with us on Who Got It, man. I enjoy doing those segments, man. And I'm looking forward again to us in the future on this Stolen Bases podcast journey. I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode that you put out on Empty Nest,
Yeah.
Empty Ever After. I'm looking forward to that. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Coach Tre, I'm going to give you the opportunity to share with our audience anything that you'd like to share, promote anything you'd like to promote, or say anything you'd like to say. The platform is yours.
Yeah, I just want people, to invite people. You can follow me on, all the platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Just look for me at Hey Coach Tre. Spell it just the way it sounds, Coach Tre, TRE. You can find me on my website, heycoachtre.com. You can book a one-on-one coaching session with me. My books are available there, and of course, much more content is also available there as well. So make sure that you're connecting with me. I love to interact with my audience and my followers. So make sure you find me there. But if I could just give just one bit of encouragement and inspiration, I just want to repeat what I said earlier. Don't be afraid to create. We're in the season right now. We're in a time where we need creators. We need people to tell their stories. And so even if you think there's not an audience for the story that you want to tell, or there maybe you maybe tell yourself there's no one interested in what I have to say, there truly is, because I was telling myself those same things, that there's no one that really wants to hear from Coach Tre. There's no one who's going to follow me or anything like that. Yet here I am. And so the same thing can happen for you. You just got to step out of that boat and just walk on faith, and just do one video. Just do one video. Write that first chapter of that book. Take that first step in saving that first $100 to start that business. Just start with something small, but don't be afraid to create. Don't be afraid to build. Let's start building the legacy that we want to leave behind today.
Way to end it. Very, very powerful. Let's start building that legacy today. Don't be afraid to create. I don't have to repeat it. He made himself very clear. Thank you very much for that encouraging and inspiring word, Coach Tre. Thank you very much for this interview. I thank you for the time. I look forward to our future journeys together. For those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you got something out of it. And if you did, please please subscribe, and please share this episode with someone who you think might also get something from it. We are excited about what's to come for season 4. We just surpassed about 160 plus subscribers. Like I said in previous episodes, I'm not so concerned with the actual numbers. I am concerned about each individual subscriber, each individual viewer, but we need your viewership and your subscribership to help reach other people, to help the channel grow so we can inspire more people. So please please share, and please subscribe. And before we go, if you know someone who is still in the process of pursuing their dreams wholeheartedly, you should encourage them to keep going and keep growing, because you never know when their dream might be the answer to someone's prayers and makes all of our lives better. Lastly, and as a reminder, our shows air 8 p.m. on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for everyone out there on the West Coast. And once again, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Revisit Your Dreams, and we'll see you again real soon. One love. We out.